AA, see you in church. Hi, Emmanuel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Put the little hand up. I do it right away because I have the tendency to forget and I won't come back. And let me know what you think about my conversation. I haven't watched any of the middle ground in a long time. I stopped watching it because they tend not to finish a point. Like, let's say, for instance, like we've been doing the Black Lives Matter. I find sometimes they cut you off and don't let you finish because it's going to become too controversial. And the same thing they do with other conversations. I just use that because right now we're being forced to see Black Lives Matter. And I'm not talking about people getting killed or anything like that. I'm talking about people that shouldn't be doing a part are doing a part. There was a conversation about a guy played the part of a crippled man. And they were angry. And of course, these are those stupid bitches that are white that think they have to talk for other people. Shut the fuck up. You don't. We don't want to hear your voice. We want to hear those people have a voice. Like the Black Lives Matter, I don't need to hear from a white person about that. I need to hear from them because, see, they're living the life, not you. And that's why I'm saying Black Lives Matter, because we're seeing a lot of that. The same thing in Arizona where I live. There's a place was called Squaw Peak. I don't know what it's called. I don't go there anymore after the drama. All these people live on Squaw Peak. And a white person comes out and saying, that is a derogatory word. It's an insult. It's an insult to you, but not to the Indian people. See, the Indians aren't going over there saying, don't call it Squaw Peak. Why? Because squaw is not an insult. That's a word from their people. It's like going over and getting mad because you're calling a taco, and a white person goes and says, it's not, you know what I mean? That's a taco to all Hispanics people. But it matters what type of taco you're making. Now, when you start pushing a bunch of inside of it, I don't want that. It's like when I was younger, empanada is called an empanada and it's filled with fruit or pumpkin. That's what we made, pumpkin empanadas. And everywhere I ever went, that's what they were serving. And then all of a sudden, people were talking about tongue and tripe and brains. And I'm like, that's disgusting. This is supposed to be a pastry. But you see, they're Hispanic and they're ruining it. But that's their district. Because in Mexico, there's different districts. And if you have to remember, this used to be Mexico. They didn't take the people out of here. They just moved the line. And then they attacked and blah, blah, blah. This is the connection to the black slavery thing. It always bored me to hear about it because the point is that every race has slavery. It's just that not every race has made it part of their image. And it's not an insult on them. I'm just saying the truth. I don't hear about Mexicans working their own land as slave workers to the white man. Because we don't talk about that. And they said, well, they were taken. Well, hey, if we were taken out of our land, we weren't embarrassed on our own land. We weren't forced to do these things on our land that's been in our family for hundreds of years. And that's another story. And it just gets tired of hearing that. And when they keep pushing and pushing and trying to make their point of view the only point of view, and that's white women. And I did a little dance when white women got their nose pushed into the shit and they had to call themselves retarded. And that really happened. The women went to court to become a man. And when they got their foot in the door, but see, men don't do that. But anyway, when they got their foot in the door, then they cried, you don't kiss our butt here. No, because it's a men's establishment. You forced yourself in the door. And we're not going to go learn a whole brand new way of life for you. You wanted to come here. We didn't want you here. So now you learn what we teach, because that's what you wanted. They didn't like it. But see, that opened the door to force us through your door. Well, since you did that, now we're in your door. And all those private women's schools were going bye-bye. Why? Because now they had to open the door for men. And the women quickly ran to the court and said, but we don't have to because we... And the judge was a man, and he smeared their nose in shit and made them establish and say that women are retarded and they need their own schools to be taught a certain way. And white women have done that on and on. Now they're saying they're black. And they're saying they're Indian. And on and on. They're still white people. It's just that people are letting them speak for them. I don't. I speak for myself. And that's the thing. And it's so funny. I watched The Middle Ground, and they do an episode where they got people that want to think like they're Republican and people that want to think like they're Democrat. And the reality is, it made me laugh. And it was stupid. Why? Because this woman tried to say something, and it always, the kid is too stupid, because they have children and grown-ups. And the children are too stupid to fight back. You're privileged. How are you privileged? Because you're a man. Shut up, bitch. That's not a privilege anymore. You're privileged because you're a woman. That's right. 1, you want everything a man gets and more. 2, you want to pick out only what you want from a man's world. It don't work that way, sweetie. 3, you keep claiming. But see, the thing is that you women are lazy bitches. Exactly. Yes, you are. Because the lazy bitches are the ones that are crying. And the women that aren't lazy bitches are moving up the ladder. Why? Because they work hard. They do more work than the man does. And they move up. I've never worked, except for a couple of times, for women that didn't earn their spot. There were two women that fucked their ways into their position. And they did a good job, though, at the job. There's one that, no, she didn't. And lost her job and got kicked to the curb, all because of herself. She'll blame other people just like you women always do. And like all people do, men too. They blame other people for what they've done. Oh, it's a man's world. No, it's not a man's world. It's a woman's world. And it's only a man's world when women want to whine like bitches. That's right, I'm using that word because that's what you are, that are whiners. They're not being fair. No, they're not. To men. I'm one of the men that don't give a damn what you think and what you say and how you say it and blah, blah, blah. Why? Because I don't fall for your blackmail. And in this show, each person, they let them say a little bit, but nobody fights. And I'm not talking about fists, and I'm not talking about anger. No one has any good points at anything. When she says, well, you're a man, that's gone. Because there's a difference. Women, any harm goes to a woman, and oh, the world is on their feet, and they're crying. And all the fag men are wearing their little things because they're kissing the ass of a woman. But a man gets harmed and the courts don't do anything about it. A guy gets married, his dick gets cut off and thrown into a garbage disposal. Now, if he had killed his wife afterwards, oh, they would have been mad at him, even though his penis was thrown in the garbage disposal. Or in a field, because there's that Bobbitt guy, and they got his penis back on, they sewed it on. But the reality is, the courts didn't care. They did not put her in jail. They did not kick her out of the country. And that's the truth about the situation. If it would have been a woman, the world would have gone crazy. But because it's a man, nobody cares. So shut the hell up, women. And in there was another thing. They were there crying. Cry. They were giving me dirty looks because I was on the side of the Republicans. And that makes me laugh. Why? Because I find the Republicans the dumbest people I've ever met. I'm sitting quietly where I work, and one of the people there asked me if I knew how the democratic system works. And I said, yes, I do. And I explained how they pick the people that sit in those chairs. But then I also explained, see, even though 75% is Republican or 75% is Democrat, those people don't have to vote that way. But they didn't let them go even into that situation, even though when that kid tried to say they looked at me like I was scum, because you are scum. You're stupid. You showed how your stupidity was. And then they had that religious little girl started trying to bullshit the shit of stupidity out of her mouth. She didn't know what the hell she was talking about because they're children. The only one that had anything smart to say was the little guy that had his own business. They tried to throw a stone at gays and whatever, but they really didn't go anywhere. They just made themselves look stupid. But in reality thought, they didn't have anybody. They had all these questions to be asked, but the reality is the wrong people were answering them. It was silly. It just made the show look dumb. And when I play this, I think I might put that before my video so that they will see that, then see my video, and if they listen. And they talked about guns. It made me laugh. See, the problem isn't the guns. The problem is the people. And no one's fighting about the right issue. The right issue is, how did they get automatic rifles? You're allowed to sell them, but they're not allowed to actually be able to go dot, 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 dot. They sell you a gun, then you have to buy a kit. That's what we should stop being sold in America. It's the kit to create that gun so that it'll go dot, 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 dot. Because without that kit, it won't do that. It'll go pow, pow. See, they don't hold the trigger down. They'll have to squeeze it for every bullet. And that's the conversation that should be asked. But they don't. Why? I have no idea. We have a lot of stupid people talk, just like on that show, about guns. But they're not really talking about guns. They're just sort of blah, blah, blah. No one's asking, why are we allowing that kit to be sold? The gun is still a regular gun until that kit to turn it into that is put together. And this isn't a black issue. This isn't a Hispanic issue, a Chinese issue. It's a white issue. Because most of those kits are coming from white people. But if I'm wrong and you're Hispanic and black and Chinese that are selling those kits, then those are the people that we're having a problem with, who are selling the kit for someone to create an automatic rifle. And that's what we should be fighting for. Stop the automatic rifle being released on American land. But tell me, what do you think? How do you feel about it? Because, to be honest, the problem is in the schools. Why is this kid being treated the way he is and the teachers aren't stopping it? Because this person must have been tormented. So he went in and killed a bunch of people. And if he's a wackadoodle, why wasn't he in the crazy house? These are questions that aren't being covered. All there's covered is that he had guns, he bought guns, they sold him guns, and why were these already had the kit on it for him to go shoot, and he had the cartridges to go in? Was it the police selling them? I don't know. Do you? Let me know by subscribing to my channel, putting the hand up. I do it right away because I have the tendency to forget. And let me know how you feel and what do you think. What's your conversation? Because the one over there sucked. But remember, AA, see you in church.